Terence, when did you know that you were going to beat him? Over here on your left.
When he signed the contract.
Why the hell was old Canelo Alvarez take the rematch? All right, why would he start negotiating? And there's a few things going on here. Number one, there was a rematch clause.
Listen, however they rate me, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we got to fight, and I'm going to win the fight. It's simple as that.
I try it, but my body just no let me go.
He is a desperate man who wants to keep his family name alive, and many fans believed the story had ended after the embarrassing show in September 2025, and we all thought the torch had been passed, and that Canelo would fade out of sight, but we were wrong, and before the end of 2025 saw Canelo Alvarez met his home network TVA and talked about his plans for the next year, which includes several sports projects, and he said again that his main goal in the ring is to face Terence Crawford once more, and talks are already moving for this to happen, and he wants it more than anything, and now the big news is that Canelo Alvarez has finally used his right to a rematch, and Terence Crawford has been called to meet him for a second fight in May 2026, and this is not a normal fight announcement, as this is a final push for Canelo to rise as the top champion again.
TV Azteca, Mexican boxing channel, is reporting that 4-division world champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, first ballot Hall of Famer, Mexican superstar boxer, Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is 63 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 39 wins by way of knockout, has indeed now, after suffering another loss, after having surgery on his elbow, he is now of the mindset that he can overcome the mountain that it was in September in the form of 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, pound for pound king, #1 fighter in the world, first ballot Hall of Famer, superstar boxer, Terence Bud Crawford.
But is he asking for a second chance or walking into another beating that could finish his career? Let's break down the problem. After the loss in September, the Alvarez camp stayed silent for a long time, but it finally spoke on Mexican TV when Canelo suddenly appeared as the main guest, and he was nothing like the calm, focused businessman people expected, and network reports say Canelo stated that a second fight with Terence Crawford is his top target, and he left no doubt about it, and he made it clear that talks for 2026 have already begun, and that he is ready to step into the ring under any condition.
I'm not bull jiving. Listen, so Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford in negotiations to happen 2026, the rematch. And let me tell you something.
This phrase "at all costs" says everything, and Canelo, who normally deals from a strong position asking for catch weights and rehydration rules, is now said by people close to him to be willing to bend anything just to bring Crawford back into the ring, and the video shared widely on X, formerly Twitter, shows a man who looks driven and fully locked in.
Can you describe what it all means to you to have, you just made like a whole resume of stuff tonight?
It means a lot to me because, anybody can be a nobody, like I said, and that's all they say I've been fighting is nobodies. So what can they say now? Somebody tell me, what can you say now?
You can say congratulations.
That's it. What can you say? Any words? I bet you did.
He is not chasing a warm-up match or a fast payout against an easy opponent, and he cannot walk away from a fighter who made him look ordinary.
I believe they have a rematch clause. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of wording because Canelo doesn't enter a fight without some kind of wording in terms of rematch clause. But he's just not going to beat Terence Crawford. It's the style's all wrong for him. The movement's all wrong for him. And that's what I said. Going into the fight, I really believe Crawford would win in the style that he did.
But why is he so locked in to get this fight again to understand that we have to return to the 13th of September? 2025, the night the myth fell on another Mexican Independence Day, Canelo Alvarez was expected to enjoy himself, and the setup for the fight was easy. It looked too small for Terence Crawford, and many felt Bud was too powerful when he faced the super middleweight champion who stood 3 weight classes above him.
I mean, excuse my language, the size difference of a bigger man changes everything with one punch. And I can see the same thing. Canelo Alvarez will take any punch from Crawford, but I don't think Crawford will take any punches from Canelo. Remember, Canelo got hit by Triple G, the heaviest hitter in that division. And Canelo took those shots like a champ. I don't think Crawford has anything to beat Canelo.
As far as they say, who's pound for pound, right? This fight will say that, but who has Crawford really beat? Postal? Gamboa? Gamboa wasn't the same after he fought him, but I feel Burns. It's just, look at Canelo's resume. Cotto, Triple G, the list goes on and on. Austin Trout. A lot of world champions, bro. So I feel that's how you measure how great a fighter is through that. So we'll see. But I just feel his resume is just, he's gonna come in this fight, be able to figure out Crawford. But
when the bell started, nothing about size mattered, and skill took control, and Crawford did more than win. He defeated a legend, and most say the man from Omaha won 11 rounds to 1, and his work was not fast or lucky. It was a full 12-round lesson in the craft of boxing. I want to ask you a little bit.
I want to ask you a little bit about the history that you made tonight, and I want your opinion on which means the most to you. You became a 5-division world champion. You became the 3rd of 4-division lineal champion with Mayweather and Pacquiao. You became a 3-time undisputed champion, the first ever in the 2, 3, or 4 belt era. And you became the 2nd undisputed champion in 3 weight classes when there was only 1 champion back in 1938 with Henry Armstrong. That's a lot of stuff.
You hear that? You hear that?
Which do you think means
all
the most?
And all of it. It all goes hand in hand.
You know what? Sometimes you try and your body cannot go, right? That's my frustration. Maybe I can figure out Crawford, but my body cannot go anymore. So
Crawford controlled the center of the ring, making Canelo miss and pay every time, and it pushed the bigger man to back down. And the irony is clear, because Canelo avoided Crawford for years, believing he was too small and untested. But on the biggest night, the smaller fighter dominated the bigger one.
Don't get me wrong, okay? He's a good fighter, a great fighter. I always say, before I see him calling me out and won the fight and everything, I say before, he's a great fighter. But if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter. Just mention me one elite fighter.
Your reaction to Terence, what he did, that's another crazy thing, right?
No, that's not crazy. No, I say it's not crazy because I predicted. I said Canelo was going to get old in the ring that night. No disrespect to Crawford. He did a good. Crawford could have stopped him. He could have. Me being a coach and watching how the fight was going on, he could have stopped him. And I know he's saying it in his mind, but he was being humble of Canelo. He was being humble, and it was a great fight, and it was good talk for the boxing world. And that's what it's all about, to entertain, to get us something to look at. We've been entertained like this for years, for centuries, of gladiators and stuff, going in the ring, representing their fame.
Things get complicated now, and before their first fight in June 2025, Terence Crawford predicted this in an interview that later went viral, and he looked Canelo in the eye and told him not to hold back, saying he wanted him to give his absolute best, and that no excuses would be accepted. And Crawford made it clear he did not want to hear anything about cutting weight or feeling unwell after his victory.
I asked you about if there's any rematch clause with this fight with Canelo.
No, it's not.
Is that something you pushed for?
No, I didn't.
And is any weight restrictions to the fight at all?
No, it's not.
A lot of fighters would like to put on a weight restriction to this type of fight. Why didn't you want to do that?
Because I want him at his best. I don't want no excuses. I don't want no, reasons why, he didn't feel good or anything. I want him at his best.
Terence, when did you know that you were going to beat him? Over here on your left.
When he signed the contract.
He seemed to focus mostly on body punches, and you were hitting him in the head a lot. Was it your reach that gave you the advantage?
It was everything. He wasn't hitting the body or anything. He was hitting my elbow because I was blocking it. But, I think I was the better man tonight.
To be the ultimate winner, but the reasons are starting to surface, and there were rumors in Canelo's camp that he entered the September fight with an injured arm and would need surgery shortly after, but Crawford told people not to trust this story.
Now, Saul Canelo Alvarez also, last time you saw him, he's, nursing and recovering from an elbow surgery, which he had an elbow injury going into the fight. So, you start thinking about stuff like that. I'm talking about if you Canelo, why would you say, let's go ahead with the rematch? I think I got a shot. All right. Being a competitor for one. All right. And number two, the fight was closer technically than you thought because you were in there. And in there, you felt like you were getting your ass whipped. And number three, you went in there nursing an elbow injury. So it's like, I think I may have a chance if I'm 100% healthy. All right. He feels the same way about Bivol because he had a wrist injury going into the Bivol fight. So it's just, you think about all those things and like, yeah, let me give myself a shot.
They tried to make it seem like he wasn't at his best, and Canelo is trying to convince himself and everyone else that the outcome would have been different if he were fully healthy, but the fans don't buy it, and most people online see it as a sign of weakness, hurt, and in doing so Canelo downplays Crawford's win and makes a rematch even more likely.
Why the hell was old Canelo Alvarez take the rematch? All right. Why would he start negotiating? And there's a few things going on here. Number one, there was a rematch clause. And I do know right after the fight, so Canelo Alvarez was like, there was nothing I could do with him. But I think what happens is you start to sit back. Let me look at the fights. Let me think about this. The fight was closer than I thought. That's what Canelo's thinking, right? Because technically it was. All right. When you think about the copy boxes, put a pin in that. We all know Terence Crawford whooped that man's ass 11 rounds to 1 in reality. All right. But if you count, punches, landed or copy by statistically, technically, it was a closer fight. Okay.
Canelo has lost before in 2013 to Floyd Mayweather and in 2022 to Dimitri Bivol, but this feels different because he faced Mayweather when he was young and inexperienced, and he fought Bivol, who was a naturally bigger light heavyweight. But this time there's no excuse, as he fought someone who began as a lightweight in a division close to Canelo's prime weight.
The Mexican ancestors of the past who normally resurrect from their graves and their spirits is in the building to give that great Mexican warrior the energy and the power that he needs to overcome the battle. Well, that didn't work this time. The slim, skinny, dark-skinned dude from Omaha, Nebraska beat you in front of all of those people. So Canelo got to get it back in blood. I respect that, Nello. Go back and do your thing, run it back, and see what you can do differently. You dig? Y'all let me know, what do you think about this Canelo rumored to want to rematch Terence Crawford in his next fight? Peace.
It got a bit closer at the weigh-in. I was like, my heart was like, nah, Canelo's got this, but deep down I kind of knew that it was all wrong for him. And to be honest with you, Canelo knew it was all wrong for him. I had the conversation with Canelo Alvarez probably, I don't know, a year ago, about Terence Crawford. And he was like, no, why would I fight Terence Crawford? He hates that style. And when he fought Charlo, I remember him being really disappointed that Charlo just moved and moved and moved. And that's why he ended up fighting Munguia and Berlanga, because they're guys that wouldn't do that and they'd stand in front of him. And that suits him down to the ground. Anyone that's got movement like Skull, like Crawford, he really struggles against. And when he was a bit younger and fresher, he could probably get away with it and cut it off. And, but then you see guys like Bivol and, Crawford and these guys beat him because of that movement. And I don't know what he does again. I mean, the biggest money fight out there for him is the rematch with Crawford.
Sources close to his team say Canelo's pride won't allow him to accept defeat, and it's consuming him, and he feels he must get revenge, and many writers on Combat Share believe he can't walk away after a smaller man from Omaha took his title, and it reminds people of famous figures who couldn't stop pursuing their goals, and the decision to seek a rematch seems driven by pride rather than reason.
Hey, yo, peace to the family. Look, I don't saw the report. Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo is saying, from what they're saying out there on the internet, that he wants to rematch Terence Crawford. I think that's a wonderful thing. It makes sense from a financial standpoint. If you Canelo, your ego is involved as well, because you said all of these things. You said the guy's too small. You said he ain't fought nobody. You said he's, your resume is better than his. You said that there's levels to this, and that small, skinny guy from Omaha, Nebraska beat you on Mexican Independence Day in front of all of the ancestors.
Canelo's team will face big challenges with the financial side of this fight, because in the last 10 years, Canelo has always controlled things like ring walks, glove makers, location. And money splits, but now he no longer has that power, and Terence Crawford is calling the shots, and financial experts expect Crawford to demand at least a 50-50 split to return to the ring, and rightly so, since the first fight was all his, and by agreeing to a rematch he's giving Canelo a chance. And remember, Floyd Mayweather never agreed to fight Canelo again, and Dimitri Bivol didn't either, and Crawford is the only one with the will to run it back, and Canelo will pay a high price for it.
In negotiating for this rematch, he would be the first one out of the fighters who've beaten Saul Canelo Alvarez to give him a rematch. Floyd Money Mayweather didn't give Canelo Alvarez a rematch. Dimitri Bivol didn't give Canelo Alvarez a rematch. But here Terence Bud Crawford doing what he does. And let me give you a side note. Let me just put a pin in that. Put a pin in that real quick. Do you know what Terence Bud Crawford was trying to do? The type of bags he was trying to collect this year? Terence Bud Crawford accepted the Jake Paul fight. Yeah, the replacement fight for Gervonta Tank Davis. Terence Bud Crawford accepted that damn fight. Now, MVP, Jake Paul, they didn't go with Terence Bud Crawford. They went with AJ, which I'm still scratching my head on that. All right, because that is going to be a brutal knockout. But with that said, Terence Bud Crawford said yes to this, knowing damn well he's going to negotiate with Canelo. You want to talk about the bags?
The roles are completely reversed now, with Canelo chasing the fight, while Crawford just counts the money. And how can Canelo win if they fight in May 2026? He can't outbox Crawford, as we've already seen, but a well-known trainer, Robert Garcia, has shared an opinion that sparked a lot of debate. Garcia believes Canelo can win if he stops trying to box, and says Canelo respected Crawford's skills too much in the first fight, and to win the rematch, he needs to stop worrying about getting hit, turn it into a brawl, and use his strong chin to take Crawford's punches and land one big shot. Garcia is basically telling him to throw caution aside, rely on his power, and go for the knockout. But this plan could either give Canelo a win by KO or a heavy loss, and opinions in the boxing world are split. Scrolling through Reddit shows it clearly half the fans admire his fighting spirit and respect his drive to avenge the loss like old school champions, seeing it as incredibly brave, while the other half thinks it's unrealistic, saying Crawford knows how to beat him, and a second fight would only make things worse. Some believe it's all about money, and that
a lot of Mexican supporters, you know, they love boxing. I got a lot of people that I grew up with as, you know, Latino, you know, so, you know, this is for the whole Mexican people that love me and support me.
The whole world will be watching, no matter if it's bravery, fantasy, or greed driving him. And May 2026 looks set to be the most important month in modern boxing history, as Canelo Alvarez risks everything he's built in a single night. And if he wins, he could make the biggest comeback ever, but if he loses again, especially the way he did the first time, his aura of invincibility could disappear for good. So what do you think? Is Canelo letting his ego write a check his body can't cash, or will the king reclaim his throne? The video ends here. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you enjoyed.